A long time ago, in an era when giant mammoths roamed the earth, there lived 3 brothers. From a young age, they learned that the world was full of magic, visible in the dancing lights of the sky, the auroras. The village shaman, Tanana, explained that those lights were the spirits of their ancestors, capable of transforming the world, making the small grow large, turning winter into spring. Everything was in constant change. Danahi, the middle brother, narrates that the greatest transformation he ever witnessed was in his youngest brother, Kenai, who yearned to become a man. This is his story. On the day of Kenai's manhood ceremony, the brothers, Sitka, Danahi, and Kenai, gather with Tanana so that Kenai may receive a sacred totem, a gift from the spirits that guides individuals through life, showing them the path they must follow to become adults. In the past, Sitka received the eagle, symbol of guidance, Danahi, the wolf, emblem of wisdom. Now, Kenai is given the bear of love, the one that connects and unites all living things. Kenai, not very enthusiastic, doesn't see the value of his totem. Tanana tries to make him see that love is the most powerful of all totems, and that he must let it guide his actions in order to become a man, and leave his mark alongside that of his ancestors. Still unconvinced, Kenai grows even more frustrated when Danahi mocks him, calling him lover boy and crowning him with flowers. As the youngest brother, Kenai strives to prove himself in front of his older siblings, a dynamic that's quite common among siblings. However, he equates manhood with strength and bravado, and so he scorns his totem, which he sees as a sign of vulnerability and weakness. Ironically, it is this disconnection from his emotions that truly weakens him, making him more prone to act impulsively and without a deeper understanding of his feelings. Sitka intervenes, sharing that at first he didn't understand the meaning of his own totem, the eagle, but eventually he realized it meant being a leader and caring for others. But Kenai, still angry, insists that bears don't love anyone. They don't think, don't feel, and are just thieves, especially after one steals the salmon the brothers had stored in a basket Danahi had made. Annoyed that Kenai didn't secure the basket, Danahi scolds him for his carelessness. Sitka tries to calm things down, suggesting they make another basket, but Danahi insists that Kenai fix it since he always ruins everything. Fed up, Kenai decides to go after the bear despite Sitka's objections. Kenai tracks the bear and finds the basket destroyed. Enraged, he throws rocks at the animal, which provokes an attack. Seeing Kenai in danger, his brothers rush to help and confront the bear on a glacier. The bear attacks Danahi first, leaving him at the edge of a cliff. Kenai grabs him just in time. Then the bear faces Sitka, knocking him down easily. Realizing the bear is about to attack his brothers, Sitka makes a brave decision. He sacrifices himself by stabbing his spear into the glacier, creating a crack that sends him and the bear plummeting, saving his brothers. Though the bear survives the fall, the family mourns Sitka's loss. Interestingly, actor Joaquin Phoenix, who voiced Kenai, had lost his own brother, River, shortly before working on the film. Recording emotional scenes, like the one where Sitka sinks into the glacier, was extremely difficult for him. After the funeral, Kenai, consumed by grief and anger, swears to avenge his brother. Danahi tries to dissuade him, arguing that killing the bear would be wrong and that the animal wasn't to blame, subtly implying that someone else was. He also warns that killing the bear won't make Kenai a man. Furious, Kenai insists that love has nothing to do with becoming a man, saying a real man wouldn't just sit and do nothing. Before leaving, he throws down his totem necklace in front of Tanana. Worried, Danahi picks up the necklace and follows Kenai, trying to stop him. Sitka's sudden death forces Danahi into the role of the eldest brother, a role he's not ready for. His totem is wisdom, something he hadn't shown until now. Kenai even points out that Danahi is just pretending to be wise, highlighting the abrupt change in his behavior. Danahi is trying to act as he believes Sitka would have, rather than from his own conviction. This is clear when he implies that Kenai is at fault. This approach is far from wise and makes it harder to convince Kenai to abandon his pursuit of revenge. Alone, Tanana looks up at the auroras, lamenting to Sitka's spirit that he left too soon and asking for guidance for the brothers. Kenai tracks the bear to a mountain, confronts it, and after a fierce battle, kills it. At that moment, the spirit lights appear, and guided by Sitka's eagle spirit, they take the bear's body and transform Kenai into a bear as punishment. Many might think Kenai killed the bear out of love for his brother, but looking deeper, we see that the act is driven more by anger and guilt than by love. Kenai likely blames himself for what happened with the basket, and for going after the bear against Sitka's advice, which indirectly led to the tragedy. Rather than facing these emotions, he chooses revenge, mistakenly believing that's what a man should do. But this path is the opposite of what Sitka would have wanted. Sitka never would have wanted revenge. The true act of love would have been to respect the cycle of life and understand that violence and vengeance aren't the answer. But this reflection requires forgiveness, empathy, and accountability, difficult things to grasp for someone disconnected from their own emotions. These very qualities of love that Kenai despises are what he will eventually need to learn to embrace. Denahi arrives too late and finds Kenai's torn clothes. Seeing a bear nearby, Kenai transformed. He assumes it killed his brother. Racked with guilt and remembering Kenai's words that a real man wouldn't just sit back, Denahi vows revenge. A sudden thunderclap knocks Kenai into the river. He survives and is found by Tanana, who heals him. In shock and unable to communicate with humans, Kenai listens as Tanana explains that Sitka transformed him, and to return to his old form, he must seek Sitka's spirit at the mountain, where the lights touch the earth and make things right. Kenai doesn't understand what he did wrong or how to reach the mountain, and Tanana vanishes without further explanation. Soon after, Kenai discovers he can now understand animals. He runs into Rut and Tuk, two moose brothers who laugh at his story of magical transformation. Frustrated, Kenai tries to walk away but ends up trapped in a hunter's snare hanging from a tree branch. Just then, Koda, a talkative bear cub, appears and offers to help. Though Kenai initially rejects his help, after hours of failed attempts, he reluctantly agrees, promising to take Koda to the salmon run in exchange. The situation gets complicated when Denahi, who had set the trap, arrives on the scene. Mistaking Kenai for a bear, Denahi tries to hunt him. Kenai attempts to make him understand who he is, but unable to communicate, he flees and takes refuge in an ice cave with Koda. Believing Kenai has died on the mountain, Denahi finds himself in the same position Kenai once did, and ends up reacting the same way. Denahi feels responsible for what he believes is Kenai's death, whether for not protecting him enough or for failing to convince him not to pursue revenge. Now, he sees himself in Kenai, and just as he once tried to imitate Sitka, he now tries to act as he believes Kenai would, echoing Kenai's desire for vengeance. This shows that Denahi is truly lost and confused, and that his impulsive, inauthentic behavior is leading him away from the wisdom he needs to guide his life. Thus, Denahi must also overcome his own inner challenges to act with true wisdom. In the cave, Kenai wonders why his brother is chasing him, and Koda explains, "That's just what humans do." Kenai tells Koda he's changed his mind and won't take him to the salmon run. As he walks away, Koda reveals that his mother has disappeared, and with a hunter on their trail, he needs help reaching the river, hoping to meet other bears and see the nightlights above the nearby mountain. Hearing about the mountain, Kenai agrees to take him to the river if Koda will guide him to the mountain afterward. Throughout their journey, Kenai is forced to tolerate Koda's endless chatter and antics. At night, he tries to keep his distance, but little by little, Koda's persistent company and heartfelt stories begin to soften him. With each passing day, their bond grows into a fraternal connection. Kenai is presented with the opportunity to form a new bond, to be an older brother, to love and care for someone, but at first, he is bitter and resistant. This reaction is a common human response to grief and loss. In the face of pain, it's natural to avoid forming new emotional connections for fear of suffering again. Emotional isolation can seem like a way to protect ourselves, but in doing so, we risk shutting ourselves off from the very connections that bring the deepest joy and fulfillment in life. At one stop, the Moose brothers Rut and Tuk cross their path, trembling in fear because they think Denahi is chasing them. They ask Kenai to let them join the group for safety. To throw Denahi off their trail, Kenai decides they should ride mammoths. The group sets off on a fun journey toward their destination. That night, while watching the auroras, Koda mentions how the spirits changed the land. Frustrated, Kenai remarks that maybe the spirits should just leave things alone. He shares with Kota that his brother was killed by a monster, and that's why he's here. Kota looks up to the sky and thanks Sitka for giving him the chance to meet Kenai, saying he always wanted a brother. At dawn, they find themselves a little lost, so Kenai and Kota decide to continue without the mammoths, leaving the moose behind. After a brief argument and blaming each other for getting lost, they come across cave paintings. One in particular shows a bear facing off against a hunter. Kenai is upset by the image, but Kota walks up to it and expresses fear toward those monsters, referring to humans. This deeply affects Kenai and shifts his attitude toward Kota, making him enjoy his company more. When Kota talks about the monsters in the painting referring to humans, Kenai starts to see things differently and realizes that to Kota, he is the monster. It's at this moment that his perspective begins to change. He starts to consider Kota's point of view and feels empathy and compassion. On their way, they come across some rams arguing with their echoes. Kota recognizes the area and says they're close to the salmon run, but to get there, they must cross a volcanic field full of danger. Although afraid, Kenai follows a carefree Kota. Suddenly, Denahi appears. Seeing Kota scared, Kenai finds his courage. He confronts Denahi, grabs Kota, and they manage to escape, dodging geysers and other obstacles in their path. Confused, Kota asks Kenai why Denahi is chasing them. Kenai says it's because they're bears and bears are killers. Kota insists that's not true, saying they're not like that. Kenai replies that most bears attack humans for any reason, but Kota counters that it was actually Denahi who attacked first. Eventually, they reach the salmon run, home to many bears, and to Tug, their leader, a big grizzly bear. Nervous, Kenai tells Kota he has to leave and that they won't see each other again. Kota asks why, but Kenai can't explain. Tug overhears and repeats the question. Kenai admits that he doesn't feel like he belongs there, but Tug encourages him to stay and join the fun. So Kenai joins the bears in salmon fishing, and over time finds his place and happiness among them, adapting and feeling more and more like one of them. Kenai once said that bears don't love, don't think, don't feel, and are thieves, but by living with them and truly getting to know them, his perspective continues to evolve. As night falls, the bears gather to share stories. Kota recounts how his mother fought off human hunters on a glacier. While they were playing, she hid him in the bushes and told him to stay quiet. A hunter cornered her, and 2 more joined in. She fought to protect Kota, but the ice beneath her gave way, and she fell into the water, separating them. Horrified, Kenai realizes that the bear he killed, the one responsible for his brother's death, was Kota's mother, who had only been trying to protect her cub. At this point, we can highlight a key theme of the film: the importance of trying to see things from others' perspectives. Sometimes, what seems irrational to us makes perfect sense to someone else. For example, to Kenai, the bear's behavior seemed senseless, but to them, it was self-defense. If we don't try to see through others' eyes, we only create more distance and make it harder to coexist. Next time someone does something that doesn't make sense to you, try to understand why they're doing it or what emotions might be behind it. That way, we might find common ground, begin to see others differently, and build bridges instead of walls. You might even discover that someone you never thought you'd get along with could become a great friend. Overwhelmed with guilt and horror, Kenai runs away, but Kota soon finds him. Sadly, Kenai tells him the truth, and Kota, feeling orphaned and betrayed, runs off, heartbroken. Kenai searches for Kota to ask for forgiveness, but can't find him. Carrying his shame, Kenai decides to climb the mountain alone. Kenai faces an incredibly difficult moment when he must tell Kota the truth about his mother. He knows he might lose Kota forever, but he refuses to lie to him. So he takes responsibility for his actions and chooses to be honest. This is when Kenai begins to truly change for the better, showing more and more actions that reflect his totem, which in turn prepares him for the final test. Meanwhile, the Moose brothers Rut and Took have their own adventure. After a fall, Rut loses a horn and blames Took for never letting him take the lead, claiming he never lets him do anything. In the middle of their argument, they run into Kota. At that moment, Took promises to change, but Rut doubts his words, questioning how much being a brother really means to him. However, Took recalls moments when he was there for Rut, saying he did it because he but can't finish the word out of embarrassment. Took insists on his promise to change, and after a few tickles, the brothers reconcile, an exchange that inspires Kota to seek out Kenai, hoping they can reconcile too. As Kenai climbs the mountain, Denahi surprises him and attacks. After a struggle, Denahi is about to land the final blow when Kota intervenes, stealing Denahi's spear. The man chases after the cub, who drops the spear. Denahi grabs it, and in a desperate act to protect Kota, Kenai steps in, ready to sacrifice himself. But at that moment, Sitka intervenes and transforms Kenai back into a human, to Denahi and Kota's astonishment. Seeing Kenai in his human form, Kota is instinctively frightened, but he quickly overcomes his fear. Although Kota can no longer speak to Kenai, he doesn't want to lose him. Kenai has been like a brother to him since he came into his life, and he desperately needs a father figure. Feeling Kota's need, Kenai decides to fully embrace his responsibility and asks Sitka to transform him back into a bear permanently so he can take care of Kota. Giving one's life for others is the greatest act of love, and Kenai repairs his mistake by making the ultimate sacrifice. With this act, he reaches the highest expression of his totem. It means that now his life is guided by love, which is why he chooses to remain a bear and care for Kota. This gesture is his way of making amends, and staying in bear form symbolizes so much. The bear, like his totem, represents love, which now leads all of his actions. Staying this way symbolizes that his perspective has changed irrevocably. Kenai has learned that true courage doesn't come from bravado, but from the ability to open your heart, to be vulnerable, and to put others' needs before your own. He's discovered that love and all its forms are not weaknesses, but true strength, a power that transforms, heals, and transcends. Denahi gives Kenai his totem necklace and offers him his blessing, assuring him that no matter his form, he will always be his little brother. In doing so, Denahi shows wisdom and transformation thanks to Kenai's love. Kenai is transformed into a bear once more and shares an emotional embrace with his human brothers, while Kota has a tender moment in the arms of his mother's spirit. After the heartfelt reunion, the spirits of Sitka and Kota's mother rejoin the ancestors. Kenai is finally recognized as a man in his community, but in a unique way. He leaves his mark on the village wall with the print of a bear paw. Being a true man means being human, compassionate, and caring. It means protecting and nurturing those who cannot defend themselves. It means being gentle and loving, calm and thoughtful. It's not about being fake, cold, insensitive, cynical, or indifferent. Those last traits are harmful and mistaken ideas of manhood that, unfortunately, many accept. Kenai chooses to live with Kota and the other bears, becoming a living example of the power of love. Denahi, true to his totem, dedicates himself to sharing the wisdom of this story with his people, recounting the transformation of Kenai, a boy who became a man by becoming a bear.